Hello everyone, welcome back to one more video session. In this session, we are going to talk about genetic code, a very important concept to understand translation mechanism. Okay, so in this session, I'm going to give you the basics to understand a translation. Okay, so I have written few points like scientist name, and you need to remember the name of the scientist as well as their work. Okay, so before that, I just want to give you some the basics. Let us imagine this is the entire board as the cytoplasm. Outside the board, nucleus. That means I am talking about eukaryotic translation. Even actually we can take prokaryotic translation. But because to understand translation better, we take eukaryotic translation because it's taking place outside the nucleus. So some modification will be there, right? So it is bit complex compared to prokaryotic translation. So that's what like. So we will go with some difficult concept than the easy, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, so fine. We just draw the mRNA. So this is the cytoplasm now. This is the mRNA, and obviously the mRNA contains unpaired bases. The ribonucleotides will be present. These are all the unpaired bases, which are now obviously given by the DNA. That is the template DNA. So we name its ends to. This is the 5 prime end and this is the 3 prime end. You know that I am talking about eukaryotic mRNA. It has already undergone the processing, that is splicing. You know about the splicing. Introns are now being removed from this mRNA. Only exons are there. That means these are the sequences which are now available for the tRNA to synthesize the amino acid sequence or to make the polypeptide chain, that is the sequence of amino acid. Okay, so now one more thing, I would like to draw a small circle here. Okay, there is nothing as such in the cytoplasm, it's like imagination, and within this circle let us just write some amino acid. See, amino acid means they are very important. These are all the building blocks to make a polypeptide chain, or very simple, to make a protein. Correct? Translation is nothing but it is the process of synthesis of protein from the mRNA sequences. So that is translation. So we just write some amino acids like let us say methionine, and we write leucine, then we write isoleucine, then we write tryptophan, okay, then we write glycine, even we write arginine, then serine, like that. There are so many amino acids. Particularly in the living organism, whatever the protein you see, all the proteins are made up of polypeptide chain, right? So we just write this is the polypeptide chain of a protein. Okay, so in our previous year when we were talking about biomolecules, I had mentioned that in the protein, whatever the amino acid you see, normally they are different. So protein or polypeptide chain is a type of heteropolymer. Different types of amino acid makes a polypeptide chain heteropolymer. So for example, here the first amino acid always in it will be methionine in a polypeptide chain, methionine. And let us say leucine here, again the leucine comes, the next amino acid is leucine. It normally differs from protein to protein. Okay, so then again let us say isoleucine comes, then let us say methionine again, and let us say the glycine comes, like that. Okay, so the chain continues like that. And what is interesting is within this polypeptide chain, you will see different types of amino acids, correct? So these amino, whatever the amino acid you see, and but at the same time you could see the repetition also. See leucine, it is repeated twice, it has repeated twice. Okay, so let us just continue. Again, the isoleucine, again we write valine. See, there are so many amino acids. Okay, the number of amino acid will vary from a particular type of protein to protein. The number of amino acid in a polypeptide chain varies. In some protein it could be let us say 25 amino acids. Okay, in some proteins it could be like let us say 35. In some proteins it could be 100. Got it? It varies. But in the living organism, only 20 different types of amino acids are present. That means to make a polypeptide, they have to use only these 20 different types of amino acids. Remember this, how many amino acids are there? Only 20 amino acids. So they have to use only available 20 amino acids to make a polymer, heteropolymer. Got it? As I said, the amino acid number varies from protein to protein. Got it? Okay, so always remember the first amino acid in a polypeptide chain will be methionine itself. Okay, even in prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes, the methionine is the first amino acid. But still, the same amino acid is repeated twice. And one more thing I would like to add here. For example, this is one protein, a polypeptide chain. How many amino acids are there? 1, 2, 3, 3. Again, methionine is repeated. 4, 4, 5. So there are 5 amino acids. That means to make a polypeptide chain, they have to make use of available 20 amino acid. It is not necessary that they have to take all 20 different types of amino acid to make a protein. It is not necessary. If they can select isoleucine, they can select glycine. They can leave the remaining. Okay. So you can see like in a polypeptide chain, these amino acids can be repeated. Like many number of times. This is the thing. Got it? Okay. In some proteins, like you see all 20 different types of amino acid. 20. Okay, different types of amino acid. But still you could see the repetition. So in a polypeptide chain, all 20 different types of amino acids are there. But if you count the total number of amino acid, it could be 35, it could be 40 because of the repetitions of the some type of amino acid. Got it? So this is the basic. Chalo, who is the one who is going to bring these amino acids, the 20 different amino acids to the site of translation? Where exactly translation occurs? We know it, the protein factory, that is the ribosome. So now, if you talk about the eukaryotic ribosome, okay, so we just write this is the smaller subunit of the eukaryotic ribosome. Just write 40 Swedberg unit, and another, the bigger, that is the larger subunit, that is 60S. Okay, when they are separated, we say 40S, that is for smaller, 60S for larger. Okay, when they are combined, we say it is 80S type of ribosome only in eukaryotes. Okay, so when translation is occurring, that is in the cytoplasm, the first process is this 40S ribosomal subunit is going to bind to this mRNA. Got it? Okay, they are going to bind. This is recognition. Okay, so first, once the 40S subunit binds to this mRNA, it will attract to a larger subunit, that is 60S. So that 40S and 60S now combines to make 80S type of ribosome, that is within the mRNA. So it's like that. Okay, so like that. So now what's going to happen? Once they are like, so let us imagine this is the 80S. Okay, after they combine, it is now 80S. It starts moving. Got it? So it starts moving. That means whereas the mRNA remains firm, still it will not move. Okay, but this particular ribosome, that is 80S ribosome, now starts moving in this manner, in this fashion. Okay, this is very important. So that means they move from 5' end to 3' end. This is very important. But from where exactly the translation process initiates? This is very important. So what I'm going to do is here we just write the sequences for our understanding. You know about the Kozak sequence that I'm talking about eukaryotic mRNA. How many bases? That is 7 unpaired bases. So 3, 3, 6. Okay, 7. So this is now Kozak sequence, correct? We know about this Kozak sequence. Okay. So here, from here onwards, the sequences starts. Let us write AUG somewhere else here. AUG, we know that it is the start codon. That means the first tRNA which is carrying methionine will come and bind to this codon, that is AUG. What is codon? Codon is nothing but the genetic code. Got it? So this codon is a combination. It's nothing but it's contains 3 unpaired bases on the mRNA. That is codon. Okay, codon is always triplet because it contains 3 unpaired bases. Triplet, it's a triplet. Okay, AUG, again we continue C, G, G, then we write A, G, G, C, and now I write U, A. Still, let me just continue this mRNA. Okay, so we know about this UAA. What is it? UAA is the stop codon, right? Stop codon. That means the translation process should terminate when it comes across with UAA. Very important. Okay. That means from here till here, that is the sequences present on the mRNA is available for the coding. That is coding for a particular amino acid. Got it? So that means AUG will now produce one amino acid. So let us say methionine, correct? EUG. How exactly it is produced? That is translation. I am not going to talk about the mechanism now. EUG will now produce methionine. CTG, let us just imagine. So it will produce leucine. Okay, so let us say that now this AAG, it is also a triplet, a codon. AAG will now produce, let us say, isoleucine. Okay, now GC, oh, I need to add one more here. Okay, so here, GCC. Okay, so this GCC will produce another amino acid, let us say valine. But UAA will not produce or code for any amino acid. So that's it. That is the termination. So we got a polypeptide chain which contains 4 amino acids. Done. Got it. So it is a non-protein now. It's protein. Got it? Okay. Whereas UAA is nothing but called as a stop codon or terminator codon. Whereas EUG is the initiator codon. So this is the basic to remember. Now, still after the termination, that is actually after the stop codon, you will see unpaired bases. Again, it continues. Okay. Because these are all the sequences which are directly copied from the DNA. Earlier it had exons, introns. Introns were now removed. That is post-transcriptional modification. But still the protein synthesis starts from EUG and stops when it comes across with UAA. Then what about this? These are all waste. This is very important now. The Kozak sequence are very important for the recognition of a specific type of ribosomal subunit. We will talk about it later. Then what is this? Between the Kozak sequence and start codon, that is, let us say before the start codon, whatever the sequences you see, except the Kozak sequence, even actually you can compare the same thing to the prokaryotic mRNA also. Instead of Shine-Dalgarno sequence, okay, in prokaryotes, Shine-Dalgarno sequence is there instead of Kozak sequence, you know it. Okay, but we will not include this Shine-Dalgarno sequence or Kozak sequence. But we just take these sequences that is present just before the EUG start codon. These sequences will not get translated. That means they are useless. Even though they are copied from the template DNA, they are useless. They are not going to produce any amino acid. They are not going to code for any amino acid. So these sequences before the EUG or maybe after the stop codon, whatever the sequences you see, okay, before the start codon and after the stop codon, whatever the sequences which will not get translated, they are called as untranslated region. Please note this one, very important. You may get a question for your board examination, even for NEET also. UTR. UTR is nothing but untranslated region. How many UTRs will be there? I am not talking about the sequences. I am not talking about the nucleotides. I am talking about this is one UTR and this is the other UTR. So if you take one mRNA, one UTR is situated towards the 5' end and another UTR is situated towards the 3' end, correct? So UTR is untranslated region. These are the sequences, that is unpaired bases present on the mRNA which will not get translated or which will not help in the production of amino acid or which will not code for any amino acid. So this is the thing. So if you take any type of mRNA in eukaryotes as well as prokaryotes, the presence of UTR is seen. Okay, UTR is seen. Even the Kozak and Shine-Dalgarno sequence also will be seen. So this is the thing. Hope you understood. This is the basic now. Okay. So who is going to bring this amino acid to this translated region? So now I have to consider AUG till C. I cannot consider UAA. Even though they are not UTR. UAA is not UTR. It is stop codon. Okay. But still it is not going to code for any amino acid. I cannot consider UAA because it's not going to produce or synthesize any amino acid or it's not going to code any amino acid. So from AUG till C, whatever the sequences you see, they are all useful in coding for a particular amino acid. Okay, so we just write these are all the translated region, untranslated region, translated region. Hope you got this point. This is the basic now. Got it? So now what is a codon? So this is one codon, this is another codon, this is another codon, this is another codon, this is also another codon. Got it? So if you think about a total number of amino acid, that is 20 amino acid, to produce a polypeptide chain, we need out of 20 any amino acids, okay, to produce a polypeptide chain that is coded by codon, that is actually present on the mRNA. The codons will be present on the mRNA. Codons always AUG, CGG. That means how many base pairs? I mean unpaired bases are there? 3. So codon is a triplet. Remember, so it is a set. A codon is a set of unpaired bases present on the mRNA. It's a set of 3 unpaired bases. Set of 3. Set of 3. Remember it. Got it? When you read it, you cannot say like AUG, okay, full stop, then CGG, full stop, then AAG. No, you have to read AUG, CGG, AAG, GCU. We will talk about it. When I talk about the properties of genetic code, I will tell. When you read it, it should be commonest. You have to read it like that because you know about the frame shift mutation, sickle cell anemia, point mutation. Something has happened to this A. A is now deleted. So what's going to happen? So this this earlier A was there. This A is now removed, like deleted because of the mutation. So this A now shifts here. This is frame shift. So A is replaced by G. This G will shift to this. Got it? So everything will shift. Something like that. Okay. So U come here. A. Done. That's it. Got it? So this is very, very important. That's what like we have to read continuously without any commas or punctuations. Got it? So we will talk about it. Okay. Hope you got this point now. I'll explain this.